and welcome to Life at Noon. We've been chatting for a few minutes here before we officially got started with Ashley Orlando, who is a musician. She is a jazz vocalist and a ukulele artist, as well as a charisma coach. She's originally from Louisiana. It's a good place to be for music. And her childhood dream was to become the voice of a Disney princess, but life intervened and eventually music got placed on the back burner. So while working in a Parisian PR agency years later, she connected with French jazz and fell in love with music all over again. And now based in Texas, she combines her extensive professional background in PR, intercultural relations, and nonprofits with music to help growth-focused creatives step outside their comfort zones to find their voice, learn to command a room, and amplify their effect. And we are actually going to be learning a few of those things today from her. So Ashley, if you would please take it away.
Thank you very much, Rachel, for the invitation. And to everyone who is joining us, whether you're joining us right now or you're watching the replay, it is absolutely a pleasure to be here. And I'm really excited to share with you 3 secrets to unleashing your inner musician. Now, this is for people who don't necessarily have musical backgrounds. You can be totally just an appreciator, if that's a word, someone who appreciates music. You could have played an instrument or two when you were a kid. Maybe you play an instrument now, but just for fun. Any of these are great for this workshop. We are going to talk about how you can deepen your appreciation with music and how you can perhaps improve your skills if you are a hobbyist. Get even better at what you're interested in learning. I had asked everyone before we started what instrument they have played in the past, or if they appreciate music, what types of music they appreciate. And so we had several people mention that they started singing later in life. They don't play an instrument, what they would love to. Someone says that they played the clarinet when they were younger. Someone has played a little bit of piano. So we have a wide range of musical talent in this room, and that makes it extra fun for me. So first off, I want to make sure that everyone understands the power of music. Music is a force. I recognized this from a very young age. As Rachel mentioned, I started singing when I was a kid. I actually wanted to be the voice of a Disney princess because that was my very first introduction to music, watching Disney movies and hearing the beautiful songs as a little 3-4-year-old. But later on in life, I discovered even more depths to that power of music when my papa was diagnosed with dementia late in life. And it became very difficult for us to connect, to have conversations because of the dementia that he was suffering from. He would get stuck on these negative tangents, these negative, not rants necessarily, but just like stuck in a negative mindset. And it was very difficult to pull him out of that and have a normal conversation when it happened. So what I started to do was I had just picked up the ukulele at the time. This is one of my instruments, the ukulele. And I started bringing it with me to visits to his house. I didn't know how to play much more than You Are My Sunshine, but I would play a song for him and I would sing with him. And because the music brought him back to his childhood when he actually played a little bit of trombone in his high school band, it captured memories and it helped him to get out of that negative mindset so that we could actually have really in-depth conversations. It was absolutely amazing. It gave me my pawpaw back for those very special moments. So I look forward to sharing with you today how you can appreciate music on a deeper level, how you can improve your own musicianship personally, and how you can, if you would like to, unleash your inner musician yourself. So one thing that I do want to mention is The three secrets that I'm going to talk about, they can actually be applied to things outside of music. If you enjoy art, if you enjoy comedy or speaking, or even something like painting, a visual medium, you can actually apply these techniques. You might need to tweak them a little bit, but they can still be used in other aspects of your life. So first off, music is all around us. And I like to think of it in its most simple form. So in general, music can be divided into three main categories. You have melody, and then you might have some harmony that goes along with the melody, but melody in itself is one basic element of music. You have rhythm. So that is the style of the notes. How are they moving in a particular song? And then you have tempo. How fast are the notes moving? Or how slowly, if it's a ballad. So how do we interact with music on a regular basis in our daily lives? If we really think about it, there are a lot of ways we hear music regularly. For example, imagine you've just woken up and you are excited about something that you're going to do that day, or you're maybe a little bit nervous about something that's going to happen. You might feel your heart beating, right? It might be beating a little bit faster than normal, a little bit louder than normal. That is a rhythm that is naturally inside each one of us. Then you might get out of bed, walk to the kitchen to get breakfast or make a much needed cup of coffee. Your stride, the way that you walk, is a type of rhythm, and it's probably pretty specific to you. You probably naturally fall into that rhythm regularly. If you are wearing shoes, then your rhythm, the stride that you are using, might make a little bit of extra noise, like a click, clack, click, clack. So that can be also a rhythm. I like to think about when I was living at home with my family as a teenager. My bedroom was on the second floor of our house, and I could always tell who was coming up the stairs because of how they were walking. So if my mom was heading up toward my room, I knew it, and I knew that I needed to get to cleaning up my room immediately. But I could tell that because of the rhythm that she used when she walked. I knew if my younger sister was running up the stairs, because generally her tempo, walking tempo, was very fast. But I could always tell because you hear these patterns when you start to really listen for them. Another example of rhythm and melody that you might hear in your daily life could be if you have a cat who meows when they, want food, want attention. That meow, those are notes, meow, right? It's almost like a melody that you hear every time your cat is purring. There are plenty of other examples of rhythm, melody, tempo in our daily lives. You think about the turn signal in your car, a clock ticking. The way that we speak could be considered a melody. In fact, if we have a lot of vocal variety, which is how I generally tend to talk, is I go up in my inflection and then I go down in my inflection. When we have a question, we ask a question, we generally go up at the end of a sentence. Would you like to come with me? That could be a form of melody. And even the phrasing that we use when we're speaking, we pause and we speed up at certain areas of our sentences. So that is a form of musical expression as well. Basically, what this all boils down to is that music is all around us. And in the end, a song is really just a conversation in a musical fashion. It's a conversation between the person who is talking, so that might be a singer or a pianist, and whoever is on the other end, so whoever is listening to that conversation. So the first secret to unleashing your inner musician is listening to all of these sounds that we hear regularly, but we don't really hear them. It sounds really simple to listen, right? But in reality, because we're bombarded with so many stimuli these days, we've got our phone buzzing, we've got the TV on, we might have people talking right next to us at the desk next to us. It can be very hard to actually focus on one thing and truly listen for it. So that is the first secret that I want to talk about today. Now, how can you practice listening, true listening in a musical sense? Well, I invite you to pick a song that is maybe one of your favorite songs, or at least something that you don't mind listening to several times through. And what you're going to do is you are going to press play, but you're not going to sing along. You're not going to tap. You're not going to dance. You are just going to absorb the sounds that you hear. All right. What you're going to listen for are several different things. You want to know, what is the style of the music you're hearing? Is it country? Is it rock? Is it electronic? Then I want you to listen, and this might take several passes through the song. I want you to listen for the instruments that are being played in that recording. So the first time you listen to it, you might hear voice, you might hear piano or drums. Then if you really dive deeper, you might hear additional instruments, like some stringed instruments, maybe a cello. You might hear a guitar, right? A rhythm part. You might hear some wind instruments, like a flute or a clarinet, woodwind instruments. Maybe there are some horns. Maybe if it's an electronic type music, maybe it's a lot of computer sounds, okay? But these are all things to start listening to, because the more you can pick out the different instruments and noticing how they're interacting with each other, the more you will be able to fully appreciate what the person who composed the song was trying to convey, right? When you listen to a full band or a symphony recording, for example, there are so many instruments that they can't all play at one time. So they have to sort of dance around each other in a way that makes sense to our ears. And that's what you're listening for. In addition to what instruments you're hearing, you want to think about, oh, when does this instrument come in? If it's a trumpet, for example, it might not play through the entire song. You might notice that it doesn't play at all in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it comes in the second half of the song and plays through to the end. So these are all ways that you can listen more intently and get a better picture of the song that you are hearing. Once you've figured out most of the instruments, it's okay if you can't quite pinpoint every single one, especially if you're listening to a symphony, for example. I wouldn't be able to pick out every instrument, but try to pick out the main ones that you hear. Then you want to think about the rhythm. Is the song a fast song, a slow song? Maybe it's pretty even through and doesn't really surprise you in any way. Maybe there's a sudden stop in the music, like a break in the music that all of a sudden picks back up. Listen to the different forms of rhythm that you hear. Next, key. Now, if you're not a musician, it's okay to not know what key a song is in, but generally most people can tell if a song stays in one key or if it might begin in one key and then change maybe toward the end or even halfway, change to a different key, all right? Composers use that technique a lot of times when they want to up the energy in their song. A lot of pop songs, especially the like really powerhouse pop songs, they do this because composers know that it's an easy way to build that energy. So generally we can figure out if something is very stable in one key or if it adds another key toward the end. Someone says, I had a Peter and Wolf record when I was a kid that taught the listeners how to hear different instruments by sound. It was neat. I think I wore it out. That is awesome. I love hearing that. And I wish that I had learned this at a younger age. To be honest, I was a singer for most of my childhood. I did everything musical, but no one ever really taught me how to listen for the different sounds in a song. I was so focused on my part, and maybe, I was a soprano, so maybe the alto part as well. But I really didn't know how to listen to those other sounds. So that is a wonderful thing to learn at a young age. All right, so we've got style. You've listened for the instruments, what rhythm the song is in, if it stays in one key or if it changes to another. Then does the song have lyrics? Some songs do, some songs don't. So if it does have lyrics, what are the lyrics saying? Are they trying to tell a story? Or maybe they have one catchy phrase that they're repeating over and over and over again. And the point of the song is not so much to tell you a story, but to convey a particular energy, like getting you to want to dance. So pay attention to those lyrics and try to figure out what they are, how you are interpreting those lyrics. And going along with that, the lyrics that you're listening to, or even if a song doesn't have lyrics, instrumental songs have this as well. What feeling do you feel when you listen to the song? Are you uplifted? Are you sad? Maybe it's just a fun, happy song. These are all important things to think about, because the way that we feel when we're listening to a piece of music is part of the intent that the conversation the composer wanted to have with you, is that feeling. Is the song in a major key or a minor key? Now, if you haven't played an instrument before, you might not know what that means. So just a quick little demonstration. A major key will have a lot of major chords in them. What is a major chord? Well, we're not going to go through a whole theory class today, but in a nutshell, a major chord generally sounds like this. It sounds very settled, a little happy, like a positive kind of chord, right? That's an A chord that I'm playing. Here's a C chord. Okay, it still sounds like it's kind of settled in a way, and it's not necessarily needing to go anywhere. Versus a minor chord, which has more of a darker feel. So if you hear a lot of major chords, those happy chords, then you can safely assume that the song is probably in a major key. Not all the time, but it's probably in a major key. If you hear a lot of those darker, a little bit sadder chords, then the song might be in a minor key. And that very significantly affects the feeling that you as the listener have when you are hearing the song. So that's great extra knowledge to pick up on if you want to go that deeply. So these are all aspects that you can use in truly focusing and listening to music. The more we think about these things, the more they help us to understand songs. And the more we understand them, the more we can not only appreciate them, but also really fall in love with music. So keeping these things in mind, I'm going to play a song for y'all. This is one of my favorite jazz classics. It's from Nat King Cole. And I would like you to just listen to it, listen to the words, listen to the melody, listen to how I play it on my ukulele. And at the end of the song, I would love for you to type into the chat the feeling that you get when you are hearing this music. All right, this is Love. And for the purposes of our workshop today, feel free to sing along if you like. L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore. And love is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can't make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for me. Sing with me, here we go. And it's for the way you look, you're looking at me. And oh, it's for the only one I see. They are so very, very extraordinary. Is even more than I cannot hear you singing. Love is all that I'm gonna give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Dear, and love can make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it, 'cause love was made for me and you. I'm telling you, love was made for me and you. Ba ba da ba 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 ba. But thank y'all. All right, so let's
Yes.
see.
We've
what
got
we
some
have.
happy memories. I was saying it felt really upbeat to me. Linda says it makes her want to skip down a sunny path and smile.
Awesome. Okay, these are wonderful. These are the types of emotions that I was trying to convey through the song, and that I think the composer also was trying to convey when they wrote this song like half of a century ago. So that's awesome. That means that this conversation is working, right? So that was secret number one. Listening, truly intently listening, can help you to become a better, not just musician for yourself, but also a better audience member when you are listening to other musicians or other friends who are playing music for you. Secret number two to unleashing your inner musician is a really fun one, I think. This is all about the art of mimicking. So mimicking, you may think of the mockingbird, that is a traditional mimicking animal. Mimicking is when you are able to take sounds that you hear and replicate them in your own instrument, whether that's your voice, whether it's an ukulele, a drum set, piano, you name it. That is the second secret, mimicking the sounds that you hear and that you like. So let's try mimicking together, and I'm just gonna take your word on this because I can't see or hear you, but we're gonna do a little clapping game. All you need to do is clap after me, so repeat after me. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna take your word for it that you were able to do that. And here's the third one. All right, did y'all get those? If so, then that is mimicking in a nutshell. It can be super simple, right? You don't have to actually know how to count any of the rhythms that I just clapped for you, as long as you can hear them or see them and repeat what I did. So if you want to take mimicking to another level, that is what the best musicians in the world do. They are able to hear a sound or a voice or a guitar lick, a little phrase that a guitarist plays, and they are able to replicate it on their own instrument. If you can master this skill, you can do almost anything. Ariana Grande is a great example of someone who is not only a very talented vocalist, a singer, but she also is very well known for her ability to mimic other singers. One of those being Celine Dion. She can sing with Celine Dion's voice, so to speak, and replicate that. She's done it many times on TV shows. But the reason that she's able to do this is because she has connected her ear to her voice. Okay, that is the trick. Is you may be able to hear that other artist, and you may know what you need to grab from their skill in order to sound like them. But the trick is actually being able to make that sound yourself. Okay, whether it's singing, whether it's on a guitar, whether it's playing on drums, any of those things, this can apply. Even if you're, for example, a speaker, and you want to add dialogue, you want to add characters into your storytelling or your comedic lines. If you can replicate voices, make up voices of your characters, then it draws in your audience even more. So that is a like a less of a musical example of mimicking, but it's still a very easy way to use mimicking in your daily life. So how can you practice mimicking at home? I learned this technique from a voice coach on The Voice. His name is Stevie Mackey. And what he suggests is to pick a song. So it could be the same song that you used for the first technique, because you know that you've already got it in your ear. And you want to have two different devices. So you need one device to play the song, and you need one device to record on. So for example, if you have two cell phones, you could use the voice memo recording on one, and you could press play on the song on YouTube on the other, or your computer and a cell phone would work fine. But you want to have one device that you can listen to the song from, and the other just needs to be able to record anything that is happening during this exercise. So what you're going to do is you're going to press play on that song and listen to just one phrase at a time. Now, this might take a while because you're going to literally divide the song up into single phrases. But you're going to listen to that phrase. You're going to internalize the words that the singer said or the phrasing where they breathed, and then you're going to try and replicate it. The whole time you are recording on your second device. So you want to have all of this recorded. So one by one, line by line, you're going to mimic the singer or the guitarist, whatever instrument you are mimicking. And at the end, if say it takes you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, at the end of that exercise, you want to listen to the recording. And this is the key, okay? A lot of times we mimic people all the time, but we don't actually know how closely we got to mimicking that person, right? We think that we did a pretty good job, but if you record yourself, then you can actually listen back while you're not singing, while you're not playing, you are just listening. And you can tell, oh, okay, well, I thought I got it pretty close, but I wasn't actually on pitch for a little bit, or I didn't notice that they breathed here and I didn't take a breath. Or maybe your pronunciation of the words was just very different than how that original singer was pronouncing the words. So by recording yourself and listening while you are not doing anything, that can be the key to seeing how successful you were at mimicking. And if you want to try it again, because this is something that the more you try it, the more you practice it, the better you will get at mimicking. And we had a question, Ken is asking, how does vocal mimicking relate to perfect pitch? That's a great question. So perfect pitch is when you can hear a sound and know immediately what the name of that note, that pitch is. So for example, you might hear a doorbell and you could instantly say that was an A flat. All right, that is perfect pitch. If you have true perfect pitch. Do you need perfect pitch in order to mimic others? No. Yay. I don't have perfect pitch. I have relative pitch, which is where you have sung, or, for me, I'm a singer mainly. So I've sung songs so many times that I can generally feel where notes are, or I can generally grasp the area of notes that I'm going to begin a song on. I might not get it spot on. I might be a half a step or a whole step off, or I may be more than that. Okay. But relative pitch is something that you can work at. Perfect pitch generally is something that you are born with, unless you are working maybe at an extreme level and you almost have it when you're born and you kind of, work extra hard to get a version of it later on. You don't need perfect pitch to mimic though. What you do need is to just be able to hear other pitches and replicate them. So again, recording yourself is a great way to practice to get closer to mimicking pitches correctly. Whenever whenever people go to voice lessons for the first time, generally the voice teacher will play a series of pitches on the piano and see if the person can match those pitches. So if you have trouble with that, then what you might want to do is find a piano or a keyboard or even a guitar, something nearby, play a pitch, play a note on that instrument, and then try to replicate it with your voice. And if you record yourself, then you can listen back to it and see if you got that pitch correctly. Just keep doing that over and over again. There are even apps that will tell you visually, it will give you a little like line, and it'll tell you, here's the pitch. And when you sing, it'll be like, oh, you were a little bit over here. So it can help you to realize, oh, I'm a little bit flat, which is under pitch. So I need to actually go a little bit higher in my note. Or if you're sharp, then that means that you're a little bit over the pitch. So there are all kinds of tools nowadays that we can use to work on our pitch. That's a great question though. All right, so some of the things that you listen for when you're listening to that recording of your mimic, how accurately did you get? One of them is, were you on pitch, right? Did you breathe in the same places? Were you able to convey a similar feeling, just like the original musician? Okay, were you singing in the same tempo? Did you have the same energy that they were bringing? Or was it a really quiet song? And did you notice that and think, okay, well, I actually need to back off on this? For example, if you are mimicking Ray Charles, let's say, he has a very relaxed vocal style. He is a jazz musician, and he purposely does not enunciate every syllable of the words that he is singing. His style is very much a speak singing style. So he effortlessly transitions from a little bit more of a spoken word into lyrics that have notes attached to them. Okay, it's almost like he's telling us a story literally and then adds some notes strategically in certain places. Another thing that he sometimes seems to do is sort of toss his words into the air. Again, very speak singing style. And he has very relaxed, open vowels. You give your hand to me, and then you say goodbye. Okay, so you would want to try as accurately as possible to mimic all of those aspects of his singing style. Ray Charles is one of my absolute favorite singers. I just think he is so evocative in his storytelling. Like, it really grabs you very, it's captivating to me. Now, if you're trying to mimic a classical opera singer, for example, then you would need to use a very different approach. Take Renee Fleming, for example. She is one of the best known opera singers alive today. When she sings, generally she is far away from a microphone. Opera singers don't tend to sing very closely to a microphone. They have it farther away. And so they need to project their voices a little bit farther, right? That's a very important part of their style. And they also are very careful with their pronunciation. They're very, their sound is very enunciated. So if she's singing an Italian aria or something like Intorno all'idol mio, okay, her sound is very pointed. Her vowels are much more closer together, right? And so you would want to mimic that style. Both styles are great. It's just a matter of figuring out what is different about them and which style are you trying to imitate and going for those particular techniques. So I'm going to play a song for y'all that is all about the art of mimicking. This is actually from the Jungle Book. It's called I Want to Be Like You. And the context of this song was King Louis, the king of the jungle, he wasn't satisfied with just being king of the jungle. He wanted to be king of everybody. He wanted to learn how to make fire. Now I'm the king of the swingers of jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. Wanna be a man cub and stroll right into town and be just like the other men. I'm tired of monkeying around. Oh, ooby-doo, I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You see, it's true how someone like me can learn to be like someone like you. Now don't try to kid me, man cub, I made a deal with you. What I desire is man's red fire to make my dreams come true. Now give me the secret, man cub, come on, clue me what to do. Give me the power of man's red fire so I can be like you. Oh, ooby-doo, I wanna be like you. Bobby-doo-ba-doo-bee, wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You see, it's true how someone like me, Bobby-doo-ba-doo-bee, can learn to be like someone like you. Ooby-doo, ba-ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da, shoo-ba-doo-ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da. Repeat after me. Ah-ba-doo-ba-da-bee, tweet-tweet-da, shoo-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da. Your turn. Your turn. Ba, ba, ba. Ooh, ooh, I wanna be like you. Yes, I do. I wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You see, it's true how someone like me can learn to be like someone like you. Can learn to be like someone like you. One more time. Can learn to be like someone like you. So how did you do? Hopefully y'all were able to get a little bit of that mimicking in there. And if you added your own interpretation, then that's cool too. Now, if you combine steps 1 and 2 to unleashing your inner musician, then that brings you to my favorite step of all, but this is probably the trickiest. This is mixing 1 and 2 to create your own piece of art, your own piece of music. Now, that doesn't mean you have to write your own song, okay? What it does mean is that you want to put your own stamp on a song. As a jazz musician, I do this regularly because most of the songs that I sing are jazz standards, but I find a way to tweak them ever so slightly to make them my own. Now, this is the part of music that eluded me for a long time. In fact, I studied music for most of my childhood, through high school, even into college, but I didn't feel like a real musician because I didn't know how to take a song and make it my own. And then someone put a kazoo in my hands. Now, I call this a travel trumpet because if you think about it, you can do almost anything that a trumpet can do with a kazoo. All you have to do is hum into it. Okay, don't blow into it because then nothing will come out. So you hum. That is the trick with a kazoo. Now, why did a kazoo suddenly teach me how to become a better musician and actually take songs and make them my own? Well, because this little instrument taught me how to scat. Scatting is a jazz styling, a vocal styling usually, where you make up notes and rhythms and syllables on the spot. Ella Fitzgerald was known for her scatting abilities because she could mimic just about any trumpeter, jazz trumpeter, and create her own scat parts like that. She and Louis Armstrong played many songs together, and she was absolutely incredible in her ability to scat and also to hear what the trumpet would normally be playing. So, another reason that the kazoo helped me with this particular step and why I'm recommending it for y'all is because a lot of people consider this to be a toy instrument. I know I did at first, which means that it takes the pressure off, right? Sometimes whenever we get an instrument in our hands, even an ukulele, which by the way, if you're looking to play, start playing an instrument, I highly recommend the ukulele. It's very beginner friendly. And you can instantly be playing a 4-chord song in a matter of like 20 minutes. But if you pick something fun, it takes some of that pressure off. And when we're trying to be creative, pressure is the last thing that you want, especially if you're not used to this type of creativity. So take the pressure off, turn it into a game, and just have a little bit of fun with it. So when someone first gave me a kazoo, what happened was they said, just play along to the song. So we were doing When the Saints Go Marching In. And I had never been able to scat before because you have to come up with a rhythm, a melody, and you are singing a bunch of gibberish syllables, right? Shoo-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. That apparently was the part that my brain could not comprehend. It was just too much all at once. But as soon as I tried to scat with a kazoo, I removed that gibberish syllable part, and all that was left was the melody and the rhythm. Well, I already knew the melody of the song, so that meant that I could just change the rhythm and make it my own. And voila, I had an instant scat part. So I highly suggest find a kazoo. You can buy them on Amazon. You can find them at probably most music stores. Get a kazoo and just try it out. Let your creativity run wild because, like I said, it's a toy. It's a fun game. And that is where creativity starts. When we're kids, we don't have trouble being creative, right? We have very wild imaginations, and we kind of lose a little bit of that as we grow older. So find your inner child, pick up a kazoo, and give it a shot. Now, what are some ways that you could make a song your own? I do want to make sure that I cover that so that if you do start working on this part of your creativity, you have some techniques to try. So first off, you could change a song from major to minor. I showed you the major and minor feelings of these chords, right? Major was happy, minor was a little bit more somber. Well, you could change a song that is normally played in a major key, a happy key, into a minor key. Take You Are My Sunshine, for example. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Okay, that was just 3 chords, but all major. Now I'm going to make them minor. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Okay, I used the same 3 chords, but just the minor version of them, and all of a sudden you have a totally different feel to the song. Another thing you could do to make a song your own is to change the rhythm or change the tempo. If it's normally played as a ballad, a very slow tempo, why not try it as something else, right? That's an easy way to make a song your own. We have a comment. Ken says a kazoo band played at Red Rocks in 1988. And oh, you were in it. That's awesome. Ken. I would love to know more about that. I've been to Red Rocks and it's a beautiful place. So I would love to know what that kazoo band sounded like. Okay, so a few more things before we wrap up. Ways to make a song your own is if you're going to play through the song several times, like for example, You Are My Sunshine is a simple song that you could do several times through different verses. If you're playing a jazz song, a lot of times you'll play a version of it with lyrics at the beginning, then there might be some instrumental in the middle, and then there might be lyrics again at the very end. So what you could do is each time you play it, try to play it a little bit differently, okay? A lot of jazz singers will sing through the song at the beginning very faithfully to the melody. And then the next time they come in, that's where they add their own inflections, their own interpretations of the rhythm and the melody. Another thing you could do is to add a tag to the end of the song. If you remember when I played I Want to Be Like You, at the end, I played the last line 3 times in a row. Can learn to be like someone like you. Can learn to be like someone like you. One more time, okay? And I added in that little interjection, one more time, just to change things up a little bit and make it sound different than how I'd played it before. So you can add a tag to your songs. You could add a key change if you know how to do key changes. Again, that's a little bit more of an advanced musical technique, but adding a key change builds extra momentum and it can create that extra boost of energy that you might be looking for. And then finally, you could come up with your own interpretation of the lyrics. So to close, this is something that I did with the song Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star during the beginning of the pandemic, when all of a sudden my world had been turned upside down and I was stuck at home for a lot more time than I expected. I came across Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and I thought, what if there is a different interpretation of those lyrics? What if the twinkling diamond in the sky that it talks about is not something far away and intangible? What if it's actually something special that we can find inside ourselves? Something that we could give to our friends or our families or our communities to help make the world a better place. So in closing, this is my interpretation of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So voila, it's still a very simple version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I just tweaked it ever so slightly to make it my own. I hope that these 3 secrets to unleashing your inner musician have shown you that it's actually possible for you, no matter your musical level at this moment, whether you just appreciate music or you have a little bit of a background and you would like to learn more. You can do each of these techniques, and the more you practice them, the easier they will get, the more your creativity will run wild, and the more fun you can have with it as well. Oh, thank you, Linda. I'm so glad you enjoyed Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. We have, I think, a few minutes for questions, so I'm happy to answer any questions if I didn't already, and I hope y'all enjoyed my presentation.
And feel free to either unmute yourself or put your questions in the chat as they come up. Thank you so much, Ashley, for joining us today on Life and for giving us a different take on how to unleash our inner musician. Appreciate getting to hear your cool and creative take on all of these different songs and all of these different things that we can pick up on just at home. And these are such, like, they're things that we can do for ourselves, which is something that I really enjoy. So that is an awesome thing to think about while we are in this virtual existence at this point. And speaking of virtual, next week we are going to be having Adrian O'Donnell from the Houston Printing Museum coming to talk to us and give us a virtual tour of the Houston Printing Museum and many of their wonderful replicas of printing presses and documents and that sort of thing, and the work of their artists in residence. So do join us next week at noon for Life in Print, so to speak. And Linda has asked, has being fluent in French changed your ear or creativity when singing?
Yeah, and it definitely has, because when you learn a second or third or fourth language, you're practicing that listening, mimicking component on a regular basis. So yes, definitely. If you speak more than one language, you will probably be a little bit better at mimicking.
Yeah, that's something to think about. I know a little bit of Spanish, so sometimes I can pick up on other things, but I wonder if music has helped with learning languages as well. I feel like it goes both ways.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's the cool thing. You know, any of these techniques, like I said, they can be applied to different aspects of your life. My mom, for example, she loves to paint. And so when I was explaining these techniques to her, I suggested that she take some paintings that she is really interested in and study them. You know, look at the brush strokes, literally tear apart the painting with her eyes and figure out what the painter, the artist did, and then try to mimic it. And then, of course, try to make it her own just by changing one component. Maybe if it's got a particular color palette, use a different color palette, you know, from warm to cool colors. You can use these techniques with like lots of different things in your life.
That is amazing. And it is so exciting to know these things and to have had you join us today on Life. And do join us next week for our virtual tour of the Printing Museum. Thank you so much, Ashley, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank y'all. Bye-bye.